Good evening. The time is 6:30. I would like to call this meeting to order. If you would all please join me. Saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll wait a few more seconds as another member joins us. Place, so I'd like to extend board privileges to you, Ted, for the evening. Do you accept?
I do.
All right. Our first order of business is the minutes from last week, April 2nd. Are there any corrections or amendments that need to be made?
Accepting to the minute, motion to motion passed. Read that line.
Okay.
Eight voting for approval?
Yeah, well, that should be 7.
7.
Actually, it should be 6. 6, because Stephanie was saying and we voted no. Anything else? Motion has been made to accept with the correction by Lynn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Lynn and seconded by Don. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of accepting the minutes with the noted correction, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. New business for this evening. We have a presentation of town department heads on the proposed budget for the fiscal year 2025. As is my custom, I kind of set them in order and going for the smallest dollar amount budgeted to the least, but with the selectmen's office package. As you come and present your budget, I'm sure that we might have a few questions for you. What I would like is that you would state your name, how long you've been a department head, and whether or not you are a resident of the town of Plainfield. So I know that Mary is not here tonight, so if Kevin, you would like to quickly speak to what her budget is.
Thank you. So Mary was unable to be here tonight. I'm just going to read through what she has for her budget and entertain questions after that. The previous budget we had for the library was inclusive of $95,246. You'll see the increase is total to $117,731. That is a substantial increase. It was explained to us as we had taken all the department heads into our office to talk about what the increases were. Most of that really is inclusive of the payroll expenses. Over the years, the library has been very underfunded for that particular position. So they were scrimping and saving as best they can, but it gets to the point where they just said they cannot do that and continue doing that at this point. So that's why they're looking for an increase of up to $117,731. You have all of that in your packet, the actual page that was handed out. Like everywhere else, costs and expenses are going up, so there was an increase there. Everything, including heating and cleaning. That's how they were getting by before, but it's still, they mentioned to us it was as low as possible that they can bring for a budget, but still be able to support staffing.
What's the, I'm not seeing it listed on here, what was the actual increase from last year?
So you have it as last year was, last year's number was $95,246. This year they're requesting $117,731. That is an additional $22,485 or 25% increase. It's really something they should have been bringing to us years ago. They've been trying to hold back on what they're appropriating or requesting for appropriations from the town because they were still, like I said, underpaying their main staff.
I would have preferred seeing, she broke down the line items very nicely. I would have preferred seeing last year's numbers next to this year's numbers, so I
Okay.
can compare the two.
I can request that now.
Because I have no idea where the increases are.
Understood.
Is it possible to get that information?
Yes, I'll see if I can get that for you and bring it to you before the next meeting.
Any other questions regarding the library? Right. This time we'll go to economic development.
Hello, my name is Shannon Fagan. I have been department head for a little over a year now. I am not a resident of Plainfield. My budget is, I had an increase in the salary for our normal contract increase wages. We aren't receiving any offsite support, so that one is zeroed out. Marketing will remain the same. Training conferences increased $200. Right now, we're kind of towards the end of our budget, and we still have a couple memberships we have to pay for PBA and the chamber. Business recognition replaced our printing line item, and that one is reduced. The reason business recognition is in there, that is for our ribbon cuttings, pay for the ribbons. We do a small gift for all new businesses, as well as our business of the year that the Economic Development Commission does. That helps pay for the plaque and award we give out. Supplies and expenses increase $136 just for the cost of everything going on. If anyone has some questions.
You're eliminating the off-site support. How did that come about?
We kept him on when I first started to help kind of train me in some of the bigger grants that we do. Then I got to a point where I didn't really need the training and I was self-sufficient when we were doing the applications.
The business recognition,
Yeah,
$400.
yeah.
That's just for the plaque, or what's that?
So that one is the plaque. For each ribbon cutting, we get them all a money tree to put at their business. So that one, before everything went up in pricing, it was like $15 per business, and then plus the ribbons for all the ribbon cuttings that we do. We have to replenish that because we're out currently. So it's just to have anything that we have to do for that stuff.
And you've zeroed out your printing. Did you put that into another line item someplace?
No, because we don't, printing is minimal for what I do. So a lot of it, what we took out this year was some banners from like the rec summer concerts. I helped do that one out of it. But a lot of our printing expenses will just go into supplies and expenses.
Any other questions?
Thanks.
All right, fire marshal.
Galasso, fire marshal. I've been here about 4 years. We're coming up on 4 years. I do not reside in the town of Plainfield. Increases are salary, which are contractual, and my deputy fire marshal stipends. Brought it back up to $10,000. We had reduced it last year. For those of you that don't know, we utilize that for call-outs if I'm unavailable, if we have a larger scene and we bring in more investigators. That's what that line item is used for, inspections for them. If they go to training, anything pretty much that they do for their job, that's what we're using it for. Vehicle expenses stayed the same. I brought back in emergency operations center equipment for maintenance. Training budget is back in, and supplies and expenses stayed the same. We are required 90 hours over the course of 3 years. Break it down to 30 hours a year. The state does provide some free trainings for us that are online. Some of them you do have to pay for if we need to go to, like, there's an organization, it's called IAAI, it's International Association of Arson Investigators. We pay to be a member of that organization. They put on trainings that you do have to pay for. That could be 1 day long, 2 days long. Basically, they're better wealth of knowledge for investigation purposes.
Do you anticipate having to use the deputy fire marshal more with the incoming Uline project? The ongoing
So,
Uline project?
inspection-based, yes. Based on the size of the building, we'll have more deputies there for the inspections because you're going to have to cover a larger area. As far as like fire investigation wise, no, it's more inspection driven for that building.
Any other questions? Thank you. Registrar.
Sonia Chapman, Registrar. As you see, most of my increases with the election workers,
How long have you been with the department head?
20 years plus.
And are you a resident?
I'm sorry?
Are you a resident?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead. Sorry.
As you can see, the increase is basically in the election workers' salaries due to the early voting that's necessary now and the extra town meetings and things like that. So that's where our increase is.
Are you getting any type of funding for that from the state?
I don't know if there's going to be any. Right now, we don't see anything right now, not like last year. If there is, we'll have Shannon work on it.
Okay. You've got a large increase this year for election workers. What do you attribute that to?
For the what?
Election workers.
Right.
Is that the minimum wage and that involves the early
It's
voting?
their wages. We're required to have X amount of people for each.
How were you able to cut your expenses?
I think we found that we had too much for the ballots. I think that's what it was, that we had appropriated more money for the ballots before and now it's less.
Any other questions?
Well, I should know this, I think, but with the early voting, Sonia, somebody has to be here, like one of your employees, is that
You have to have 3 people.
for the whole extended, that whole time? Oh,
Mhm.
Lord, okay.
At least 3 people. I mean, we did all right with just 3, but other towns have used more, they've needed more.
But none of those, because I know I came in and there's like, you know.
This is what the state requires.
So my question is like, we can't count anybody else in the town hall as one of those people. It's all.
We used, Diane was the moderator for us, so that did save you some money. She was only paid extra on those other days when she wasn't here. tried.
You know, I know.
Any other questions? Thank you. Animal control.
Good evening, Karen Stone, Animal Control Officer. I've been department head for 16 years and I am not a resident. In my budget, my salaries are contractual, and the only other line item that's gone up is my supplies and expenses of $472. We are at, actually we just went over our amount of intakes this year where we were at in July of last year, and we have a line of people waiting to surrender animals, so a lot of that is for dog food and such.
Now, your part-timer, when did she start?
I'm sorry?
Your part-timer that you have?
I have a kennel cleaner and I have a part-time assistant.
Okay. When did your part-time assistant start? How long has she been?
A year, going on 2 years.
Karen, you didn't anticipate any increase in your electric bill?
So far, we've been good. We've been under each year, so fingers crossed. I don't want to push it up if I don't have to.
You've been under every year?
We've been on propane. This year, we switched over from propane to the Mitsubishi, the split units. So we're kind of waiting to see how that evens out. I can't imagine it's going to be any more than the amount we were paying for propane.
Any other questions?
Karen Vincent, 7 years department head, and obviously I live in Plainfield because I'm elected. So the only thing that went up was my quality data service because of the fact that their quote went up, and my conference went up a little bit because everything's going up, and my assistant. And I did email all of you, if you got the email.
How were you able to cut your supplies and expenses from last year? You got 35%.
I did it. There was $1,500 extra in there, and I think it was a mess up. I think it was something that should have been last year, but it came into this year. I don't.
So your expenses should be about the same?
They are the same, yeah.
Okay. What is our, you shared this with me a little while ago, but what is our current collection?
96%.
96?
Yep.
And where is the biggest?
Or actually, I'm sorry, 96, it went up to 97.
97?
Yes.
Do you anticipate us being at the 98 by the year end?
No.
Okay. I mean, I understand you have
well-
some unpredictability with some outstanding.
As I told you, the wood burning plant's the huge thing that's over 500,000 that they promised they're going to pay by the end of July, so that'll be next fiscal year.
Okay.
And come July, they're going to owe me another 500,000. So unless they expect to give me another $1 million, which I highly doubt, and people are struggling. So if you think this is going to pass, it's not. People are coming in with $10 to pay their motor vehicle bill weekly.
Where are we with the motor vehicle taxes? Are we behind on that too, I would assume?
Let me find a little chart saved.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, I got it here. So motor vehicle, I am at 87%.
Okay. And that's been a drop.
That's,
That's slow
yeah,
over here.
that's about right. But I mean, I'm doing a tax collector sale, and I just put my list together. I have over 40 customers this year, or I should say residents. And that's only 2 years worth of delinquent taxes. That's almost $10,000 for these people that are not reaching out to me, are not calling me, totally ignoring me. And that is huge for me. So that's telling you something, and you should listen.
You had mentioned that you have, again, I know that this is not directly budget related, but you had mentioned to me in a conversation, you have a lot more people paying quarterly on their taxes now than you used to.
They're not paying quarterly, they're just making payments.
Making payments.
Correct. Which is fine, and then a lot of them will try to catch up before the next year, but they're paying, you know, the interest on top because they're high. They can't afford them. I think the town should freeze everything this year, to tell you the truth, because we can't afford anything.
I'm a little confused. I'm looking at what you submitted to us and what I'm looking at from the town numbers. They don't match.
Well, that's because of my salary.
It's not just your salary. I see a different discrepancy, I think, in
It should match.
assistant tax collector. Your paper says $53,908. This one says $58,908.
What's the date at the top of the report?
I only came with this book.
Go by what you have in the other hand. What's the date on the top?
2 of 25.
That's what we have in the town clerk's office, right? 225.
What
That's what you should go with.
What line item are you talking about?
Well, I guess there's a different sheet, that's fine.
I see we're off maybe a couple dollars,
It's
but
still
not a
off.
couple hundred.
It's not off much.
But
The difference is the increase.
it's the increase, because I never put, I mean, since I started working there, I never put an increase for myself because it's up to you. I
That's
know
the difference.
it's always been practiced, these selectmen
It
put in
can't be the only
3%.
difference.
So 161, 453 minus 163, 712 is $2,259. So that's her increase. The
that's my
difference is
increase.
her parents'
Look at
increase.
this one on our
Is the
sheet, this is
difference.
53.
The date's different, that's the difference right there.
This is the one that was just given to us.
Well, you should be looking at the 225. That's the most recent.
That's not what we got first.
Yeah.
The difference is Karen's salary. That's it.
I just gave you what I usually give Kelly and Kevin, and like I said, it's been known practice since prior to you that they always put in 10%.
Let's see if this one's different.
Well, that's official. It was up to me, I'd get what everybody else got last year.
All right, the difference between the 213 edition and the 225 edition on the
225.
salaries, not hers, but on the salaries, there's a,
Is it 5,000?
no, it looks like a,
Oh, that's probably because you didn't include, you know, in your.
Oh, the seasonal workers?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. But I see what it is now. It says seasonal workers underneath.
yeah, I broke it down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Building inspector.
He's not here.
He's not here?
No.
try. Find where he can work first.
Do we know why he's not here?
He has a seminar he's going to.
Okay.
Do you have the building inspector stuff?
No, I just have this, I have the budget you can talk about, just briefly
Yeah.
the budget.
I'll do that best I can. Thought he would have been. Kelly, you may have to help me on this one too, but
Yep.
building inspector. So the building inspector had an increase based on salary from when we hired him, so that's why it's a large increase for 15%.
Why did you say? I didn't understand what you said.
We gave him an additional amount of money when we hired him. It was agreed upon when he got hired in. We have a contracted part-time building inspector, which we use specifically for Uline.
Is he going to be needed next year with that project wrapping up?
They will continue on until probably sometime between May and June of next year.
Do we cover Canterbury?
He works part-time in Wallentown.
But do we cover Canterbury?
No. Building inspector, no. One of our former building inspectors does work over there though, but we don't cover them.
Fairly good vehicle, right?
I can do the best I can. I don't have my notes with me.
Looks like it's going up $1,100.
Yep, a lot of these are 50% increases, relocation fees we brought back in, computer software, another increase because we're looking to get an actual machine. We're rotating some of the machines in. I didn't have training before, he's put it in so we can actually do some training. And modification to supplies and expenses dropped down. I don't know the vehicle expense, but I can actually get that answer for you so I can bring that back to the board.
Any other questions? Thank you. Planning and zoning.
Good evening, Ryan Gray, town planner. Been department head for a little over a year, and I am not a resident of town. Going through the expenses, department head is a contractual increase. Salaries, we have a 3% contractual increase, along with an additional 5 hours a month factored in for nighttime meetings and training outside of regular work hours. That was previously a contingency, and we're transferring over to our salaries. Salaries and expenses, supplies and expenses, that addition is due to inflation and also contractual footwear allowances that were added in the last contract. Travel allowance, GIS hosting, there was no increase, that's staying at $3,000. Travel allowance, $300 increase because we are almost out and we're just a little over halfway through the year. And the mileage has increased in fee. Training and conferences, additional $400. The budget is increased a little because we have continuing education that is now required by the state, and those courses have gone up in price. Memberships, an additional $100 because membership fees have increased. Mapping and wide format copier, additional $500, and that is no change. Oh, I'm sorry, that's staying at $500. Vehicle expenses staying at $2,000.
You skipped over near map subscription?
I have that down next, so. Near map subscription, $22.50. That is a new line item that we're looking to put in. Near map is a subscription for aerial photography. They do 1 to 2 flyovers a year, and it's very helpful to have up-to-date mapping. Our current GIS system only has mapping once every 3 or 4 years. Just about 3 or 4 months ago, we received the 2023 flyover. So we're way behind on that.
So is the GIS going to be getting anything different with that one?
No, the GIS is staying the same. Near map is different. It does have parcel data on it, the lines. But basically, we just want it for the updated aerial photography. We had it for about 3 weeks for a trial period, and it was used pretty much daily.
What's the total price of that product?
I don't know the total price, so I wasn't in charge of that.
Because I see you're splitting it with the engineering department.
Also assessor, and I think there might be another department. Mary Ellen will probably give you some more information on that.
Any other questions?
I do have a few more items. I don't know if you want me to keep going.
Yes, please.
Okay. Next I have is computer software and hardware. We're looking to get a data package for the iPad that we have. Currently, we have no connectivity in the field, and it's necessary for inspections. Also, that data package is about $35 to $40 a month. Also, our Microsoft subscriptions have been transferred out of the computer line item into our individual budgets. Excuse me. Capital improvements, we have $30,000 over the next 5 years. We're looking to spend $10,000 this coming year to take up the flooring and the old carpet that was still underneath. That is for mold remediation and putting down new flooring, also sealing the floor. And $20,000 over the next couple of years because we need to increase our file storage.
Could you repeat that, please?
$20,000 over the next couple of years because we have to increase our file storage. No increase to the planning and zoning line item, commission. The Zoning Board of Appeals, increase of $1,000. That is for an increase of turnpike buyer advertising, and also membership training is now required for ZBA, and also the recording secretary has gone up to $100 a meeting. Conservation, no increase is proposed. Inland wetlands, an additional $500 for turnpike buyer advertising, and also the recording secretary. Affordable housing plan, we are required by the state, the Public Act 23-137, Section 55, to have an affordable housing plan. That was adopted October 25th, 2021, and is due to be renewed on October 25th, 2026. It takes about a year to do that. We have reached out to Tyke Planning and Policy, who helped us create our first one, and they gave us an estimate of $15,000 to update it. And the affordable housing plan is necessary to receive discretionary funds from the state. That's basically any funds that the state doesn't have to give us, but can give us if we request it. Most of the funding that we get for grants is discretionary. Well, it's all discretionary, so we wouldn't be entitled to any grants.
Are you applying for those grants out of your office, or do you get assistance from Shannon on that?
No, Shannon takes care of those grants, but for the town is not going to be able to get any grants without this policy.
Any other questions? Thanks, Ryan.
Diana Talbot, town clerk, department head for 3 years. I am an elected official, so therefore, yes, I am a town president. I have zero increase in my budget. I too feel like the town is struggling, and any increase this year would be greatly felt by most residents here in the town. I do have my assistant will be getting a raise with the union contract that was negotiated. That's the only increase I show.
What are you able to do to keep your expenses? I mean, it's been pretty consistent. I mean, you had an increase from 24 to 25, but you're not increasing it again. So what control mechanisms are you employing?
Being very conservative, mindful of spending what's needed, what's wanted. Doing a lot of in-house projects. Right now, I was going to outsource preserving all of the minute books so that they're numbered in case a page was missing from, say, the Board of Finance. You know, I can track that down and find it. It was going to cost me $5,000 for 10 binders. I have over 40 binders in my office, so I'm going to do it myself. I do have my degree in history, so I utilize a lot of my knowledge and my skills. Now I'm going to look at maybe $115 a book, plus $75 for a ream of paper, saving the town almost $20,000. I looked at my time as clerk sitting there and thought the same as you, Linda, with how can I help with that burden of early voting. So yes, I did volunteer my time to work for them. I trained to become a moderator. I am a moderator now, so that the town is saving money in that realm as well.
Any other questions? Thank you for all your work. Engineering.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Sean Spab. I've been the town engineer for about 6 months now, which is crazy to say. It's gone by fast, and I'm not a resident. So just to kind of go down the line items here, basically the way that I kind of saw everything branching off of was our previous engineering firm line item, which is for $120,000, and then everything kind of branched off from there. So my salary, that's just a 3% increase right there from this current year to the next year. For the vehicle expenses, how I came up with that figure there for $1,000, I just took half of the previous planning and zoning line item. And that's just going to be a consistent trend throughout a lot of these. For travel, once again, I copied the planning and zoning line item for that. So I figured it would be an equivalent price. And then for memberships, training, and conferences, that includes my professional license, so that's $285, and then $1,000, just, I believe that is, it matches the previous planning and zoning item from previous years. Next is supplies and expenses. Once again, I just based that off of the planning and zoning item from previous years, and I went with a third for that item right there. Next was computer and software. So that's a $5,000. So that includes Hydrology Studio, which that is routing software. So that's for doing drainage calculations, things of that nature. AutoCAD 3D, so that's for drafting plans. And then that also includes ArcGIS Creator and ArcGIS Mobile Worker and Microsoft Office. I can touch on the ArcGIS here for a second. So that's a So we have our GIS system, which we touched on before with Ryan, but this is a little different. And this is because of the MS4 line item that's going to be next. I'm going to go touch on that and then kind of get them both in one shot. So for MS4, so that is a state, so the state requires us to have a permit for our drainage. So for our municipal drainage, wherever we discharge to a state water or wherever we have an interconnection with another municipality. And that's also, that permit right there and the regulations that go along with it, that's also what kind of triggers any stormwater review. So when any new application comes in, say for planning and zoning, anything like that, I review that for compliance with that state regulation.
How long has that been in place, the MS4?
2017.
So where was that paid for in the past? Because it doesn't show up on the planning and zoning budget or the engineering budget.
It was under engineering line.
It was definitely encompassed in the engineering line item.
Well, it shows 0.
Well, that's because we're now breaking it out to show you what he's doing.
No, engineering down below, engineering firm, when it was 120,000, that's where the cost was incurred.
So it was inclusive in the engineering firms? Okay, so they just gave us a total bill,
Yes.
but they didn't itemize, or they did, but we never saw it.
Yes, yeah.
So the engineering firm actually paid that bill, or you paid that bill?
No, it's an engineering firm that would help us create like the policy. There's like
Yeah, so I think-
certain things has to be done.
Yeah, so for that MS4 line item there for the $25,000, so where that's come, so the majority of that cost, so what's required, and this was required, I think it was probably due, I think the year was either 2021 or 2022, so we are a little behind the ball on this. But we're required, so there's a few different sections here. And I just have a little checklist here so I don't miss anything. So you have some key items here. So you have public education and outreach, which that's posting materials online, which we've done, but we want to continue to do that. And then where we kind of start to ramp up here is illicit discharge detection and elimination. So this is really a key component of the program, and a major part of that is mapping any stormwater outfalls that we have, any interconnections that we have. So that includes, so say...
That was done in 2017 or so?
That was, yep, so that was mandated, so I believe Plainfield kind of got brought into it in 2017. It started off with larger municipalities, so say like Norwich or someone like that, you know, they were required to come in, I want to say that was like 2012 or something like that, and then they just kind of worked their way down to smaller towns. So we were brought into that in 2017. And so part of that, again, is illicit discharge detection and elimination. And that's going to require some mapping on our end, and it's required that we do have mapping. So what that includes is, you probably see it out in the woods sometimes. You'll have a pipe that's going from a catch basin or from the road or something out to, say, a river or a ditch or a roadside swale, anything like that. We need to map those. The priority areas are more developed areas. So, like Busa, like downtown Busa, any area that's really it's going to have a large amount of impervious area. So road surfaces, pavement, sidewalks, things like that.
I remember when all that was done. My question is basically, if the engineering firm didn't pay for that, why was it showing up in the engineering line? It should have been broken out because you weren't paying the engineer and then paying the bill.
The bill was the engineering firm.
Was it? I thought there was a recording. There was some other part of that, like documentation thing, other than the recording. Was there a subscription or something we had to pay for? Or not?
So yeah, so this goes hand in. So yes, so for the GIS is I think what you're talking about. So the GIS. So to go along with that mapping, we can do a lot of the mapping. I can do a lot of the mapping. We can work with. Hopefully, we can work with the highway department to do a lot of the mapping. But that's going to require this additional piece of software.
I thought it was already been done. It hasn't been done yet, you're saying?
It's not done. It was started, but it hasn't been completed. Yeah, and I'm not sure the year on that, but I've seen it and it's not completed. So to keep going through here, we touched on basically that MS4 line item, that it requires us to bring in plan review, things of that nature for planning and zoning and so on. And then other items in here are going to be, so pollution prevention and good housekeeping. So the last thing that touches on is really just infrastructure repair, rehab, and retrofits. So that's projects around the town where we can, they call it disconnecting impervious area. So say we have roads or highly impervious areas. We want to prioritize projects in these areas. So we're going to try to collect runoff from the road that's, sediment from, say, sand, over the winter, oils, greases from cars, parking lots, things like that. We want to try to collect that and put that in stormwater ponds. I wouldn't call it pond, but a retention area, dry retention area, to try to increase the water quality. So that $25,000 there, that includes, everything from mapping, trying to get our mapping situated. So this is just kind of from the hip here because we haven't done it, we don't have rough numbers, but that's, we talked to an engineering company, they can do the water sampling, $100 an outfall. I'm hoping that we can get through 50 this year and kind of help us on that baseline. So that's where that number is coming from. So that's where that 25,000 is coming from.
Mr. Chair, I think the finance director, the engineer, and the planning department should get together and discuss these numbers because like vehicle expenses, he said, well, they have that one. But if you go up to supplies and expenses, he took a third of it, which was $1,000. But planning and zoning went up $607. There's a few items where he took part of the bill, and he took half of it or a third of it, but we're not seeing the savings in the other department.
So that's less than a third of planning and zoning now, right? Because if planning and zoning went up and then I took a third of the previous years, I believe.
Correct.
Okay, I just
But
want to make
he
sure.
went up.
Yep.
You took a third of his bill.
Yep.
So his increase is basically $1,600 instead of $600.
Okay.
No, he is not in my department.
Correct. But he said he took part of yours from last year, and you're going up on your budget from last year.
Yes.
But he took some of your bill.
No,
No, guidance.
He said he took $1,000 out of...
No, that's just what I'm basing.
Let me
Guidance.
interject, maybe you could give us some clarification.
Yeah, he's using that as guidance. That's what he used in the past is numbers he took from him because it's a totally different department. So if you're talking about paper that he's used, he could use almost the same amount of paper. It was guidance as to how he would actually form his budget.
Okay.
You're in 6 months, right?
Correct.
How is it going so far?
It's going very well.
Okay.
I'm happy to be here.
All right. I think I see your tongue in your cheek there, though.
No, not that.
Yeah, I noticed that you're 6 months on the job, and so have you ever presented a budget like this before?
No, this is my first time presenting.
Oh, welcome to the fire.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You've answered a lot of really good questions. And as Ryan has alluded to and you have, you're working with some guidance here. I imagine over the course of next year, there's going to be some changes to this as we get into the whole process. But thank you for the time and the effort that you put into it. I do have one question that, based on a comment that you made, is that there's the potential that we may need some outside assistance to continue this mapping program.
Correct.
Okay. How would you make that assessment?
So we would start with just the software and seeing what we can get done with just myself and the highway department. See if we can get anyone in the highway department on board with that and see if they can help with that mapping process. But it's just the manpower. I'm just one guy that would just be going around, so that's where we would need the help. And we need to show progress to the state, show them that we are moving forward with this.
Okay.
Because we did move forward and then kind of stayed stagnant for a little bit, and now we're moving forward again, and they're okay with that forward progress, but they just need to see, progress. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Sean?
If you don't mind, I just want to add something to this. You'll notice that Sean has he can actually, he as an engineer can stamp things. In the past, we have hired outside resources to help do this. So we've gone upwards to $160,000 for their services. He is looking for some support from an engineering group in case there's things that he can't do. But I think he's picking it up very quickly and it's saving us a lot of money.
Yeah, he asked for $30,000, right?
You're right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Ellen Hall. I've been the department head for 8 years, a town employee for 16, and I am a town of Plainfield resident, a proud town of Plainfield resident. So I'm going to go down the list here. We have a 3% increase for myself and the 2 other ladies in the office. You'll see personal property audits have been added. As you know, we're getting new businesses within the town of Plainfield and existing businesses. We want to make sure those businesses are paying their fair portion of the tax burden. So that is why that is new. Board of Assessment, Appeals, Education. We want to encourage the appeal board to attend classes so they are familiar with the process of the assessor's office. Let's see. Vehicle expenses, we had in prior years. Last year it was cut. This is to cover oil changes, gas, windshield wipers, and any light-related stuff. Okay, so conferences and training, that went up by 500 due to everything else going up. The cost of materials, education, travel, computer, software, that's just contractual. That's also where you're going to see the near map expense that Brian was talking about. That is a shared expense between town planner and engineer. Like Brian was saying before, it gives us yearly aerials, which is very useful on my end. I can tell you with the trial, just in 1 week, I increased probably 30,000 in assessment, where I would not have normally known about without that aerial. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Yes. How does personal property audits differ from appraisals?
Okay, so appraisals is the real estate.
Right.
The building itself. Personal property is for businesses, everything within the business.
All right.
So say, for example, if we're looking at this room as being a business, the tables would be assessed, the chairs would be assessed, the curtains would be assessed.
And this is new?
No, it's not new.
Okay.
Oh, well, no, but actually, it was added to the appraisal line item a few years back. Now
Okay.
we're just splitting it out.
You're splitting it up.
Right.
How do you do that, Mary Ellen?
Next revale will be 2027.
Mary Ellen, how do you do the personal property audits? Is it, yeah, how do you know if something in a building?
So we have some non-filers. Every year we send out personal property declarations to about 900 businesses. Not all businesses. It could be unregistered motor vehicles. It could be horses. But those personal property declarations go out. Really, who I'm looking at are the non-filers. Who are and then, you know, I also know what's going on in town. Okay, that person didn't claim that huge piece of equipment. What's going on? this gives me a better opportunity to really look into what's going on. So it was put in the budget for the assessor's office to get a newer vehicle. It doesn't have to be brand new, a newer to us vehicle. Right now ours is parked outside and we're not using it. And it's just time. We have a 2000, either 6 or 7 Chevy Impala. It's just, what is that, 18 years old, you know, so.
That's the one that got damaged in the accident? In the parking lot, not you?
Yes, we want to make sure that we're very clear
During the snow
that,
plowing, it got hit and
yes.
damaged. Again, I've got discrepancies between the sheet that came in her budget here and then this sheet, as far as salaries and pay for the department head.
If you're looking in the binders, I would say close that book. I gave you those binders a long time ago, and we've had some modifications since.
But the salary should have changed.
Again, we were in negotiations at the time that those binders were going. So it's easier to bypass that.
Any other questions?
Ron Roberts. I've been the department head for just about a year. I am a Plainfield resident my entire life. For our salaries, they've gone up 3% for the people we have now. We're asking for another full-time person. We just can't keep up, especially during the summer, the mowing, the weed whacking, the Little League fields, the cemeteries. We now have the ECC to take care of. We have to take care of that year-round. We don't want that building to look like the old high school annex. So as long as we own it, we have to take care of it. We go numerous times a week to check the heating systems, the windows, the roof, all the plumbing, make sure nothing's leaking. So that's why we're asking for another person, another full-time employee. Overtime line is going up, and that's just, our salaries have gone up. Overtime is used more. This room has
More
been,
events.
the what?
More events.
More of it, yeah, this room has been rented a lot more. We've had more things at the park where we have to work, and that's all on weekends, so that's why our overtime budget has gone up. Cleaning supplies, we've actually been able to go down a little bit. Instead of from cleaning companies, I get it here and there, and we've saved quite a bit of money doing that. Service contract has stayed the same. Vehicle expense, we were able to lower that. We have 2 new vehicles now. They're only a couple years old. They don't need repairs and stuff like the old ones did. That also, vehicle expense also covers our trailer. We have a fairly new trailer as well. Supplies and expense, it went down a little bit for that $264. I don't know what that was, so I don't know where, I don't know how to answer that one. But the other stuff is already fine. The electricity, heat, I don't even see those bills. So you would have to ask Kelly about that. I don't see that.
You're a working supervisor?
Yes.
The new full-time employee that you're proposing, are they starting out at the same rate as your existing full-timers?
I would assume so because it's a union position. Kevin and I haven't actually talked about that.
It's actually just a little lower. It's his base rate.
Have you encouraged any other department heads to research Amazon for their supplies?
I think they do, because that's what I was told. Hey, check Amazon for a few things. just some things, some of the cleaning, the toilet paper and stuff isn't, but some of the chemicals we use, so $5 here, and it just adds up. It's a little more time on a computer, paperwork, but I think it's worth it. Like I said, we were able to lower by 1,000, and that's even with increases in some products.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Hi, Kelly Vashon, Finance Director for 17 years now. Prior to that, I was here as Assistant Finance Director for 2 years. The finance budget has a total increase of $73,000. Bulk of that is made up of $80,000 for the human resource staff. Right now, the finance department performs that position of human resources. We share that within the department of 3. I have 2 other full-time girls, so we share a part of that in many different aspects. The next is a department head increase per contract. I have, in salaries, I have 2.25, 2.25 people. I have assistant finance directors full-time, union contract, and I have a bookkeeper full-time, union contract, and then I have a quarter of a person, half of a person that does my accounts payable. She's shared with 2 other departments, building department and sewer department. The audit has a small increase. The contract with Markham, which is BizNet now, the company's name is $63,000 for the town and the school. So the town and the school, we share that, so we split it half and half. Also out of the audit expenditure comes other things. So this year we're going to have a pension actuarial cost, which is every 2 years, where it is performed by Hooker and Holcomb. It's merged with USI now. So USI will come in and perform a pension actuarial report. And what that'll do will pull all the employees for the town and the school, and they'll net out what your liability is, how your pension fund's doing, and they'll allocate how much money you should be contributing to your fund. So that'll be performed this July 2025. There's a cost of that every year, and then there's a cost of our OPEB report too. OPEB report is other post-employment benefit, which the town doesn't have any employees on it yet. The school department does. So what that is a report that Hooker and Holcomb USI calculates the liability of health insurance. These employees stay on health insurance after they retire. So you have to have money set aside for such. So that represents that. There's a cost to that. And I guess that's pretty much covers my audit costs. Payroll services, we use ADP. That contract is about $48,000 a year. Plus we have W-2s and 1095Cs. 1095Cs represents your health insurance contribution. So you have to report that on your end of the year income tax. Those are additional fees that we have to pay every year based on the number of employees you have. Conference training, I attend Connecticut GFOA conference trainings. Those are twice a year. And then also I'm trying to, I went to one online this year, HR training, so I'm trying to get up to date on that. Supplies and expenses, that represents employee payroll folders. As we hire new employees, there's new supplies that are needed. So we have payroll folders, we have change order folders, etc. We have supplies, office supplies, basic office supplies, file folders for accounts payable, deposits, accounts receivable. All of those are part of my supply and expenses. And then we have computer, which is our software for Microsoft 360 for 3 full-time employees. AccountMe is my accounting system I have. That's about $2,700 a year. And then any additional services that I need with AccountMe, if something goes wrong with any of my reporting, we have to call AccountMe and they'll fix it for us. And that's a fee associated with that. And hoping to maybe get one more laptop in our department next year. And that is pretty much the finance department.
You've got the human resource staff listed as part of your department.
Yeah.
what type of, they're gonna need their own, are they gonna need their own computer, I'm assuming?
Yes.
All right, is that gonna be covered?
We
under
have a
your-
laptop, right now that we could
Okay.
pass over to them.
You're also showing a decrease on the salaries of 18,600.
Yeah, I was trying to save money for the town. If we can get an HR person, then I can maybe absorb my time in more of the financial stuff, which I won't need that part-time finance person.
Okay.
So we can absorb that.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Recreation. Yep. Thank you.
My name is Elizabeth Anderson, by Beth, so no confusion there. I am from Plainfield. I've lived in Moosup my whole life, and I have had this position for about 3 months shy of a year. I started last July. So I know my budget has been a big topic for discussion, both in the community as well as in-house. I wanted to start off by stating that the budget that is listed in the town budget doesn't include my revenue lines. So a lot of this is just the straight costs of what it is to run our programs as existing right now. So really just stabilizing, keeping what we have this year, and being able to move forward next year. We are currently in process of trying to secure grants that we've had for senior fitness and things like that, so some of that will offset these costs. The biggest change that I know I've been asked a lot about is our summer camp, our part-time salaries there. It's being listed as a 315% increase. In actuality, the only increase we've seen with the summer camp is minimum wage going up. The difference is with the previous director's budget, there were a lot of things left off of it because he was counting the revenue against it, a grant against it, as well as a $25,000 donation against that before putting it into the budget. So it looked like it was only $19,000 for staff in previous years, when in actuality it was more than that. So I've tried to be very transparent with our budget as to what everything actually costs, which you'll see with the one that I turned into Kelly and Kevin, which I just gave you guys recently right now. It really breaks it down for the total costs. I also found some other costs that, not to say they're hidden costs, but they're costs that I don't necessarily see at my department because they're paid internally right from fiscal. So the pool costs, whether it's electricity, the gas, any of those costs, I never see those bills. Those just get paid automatically through fiscal. So I was able to dig out some of those and put those in my actual budget so I really knew what the cost was to run everything. Okay. As far as those salaries, again, it's going to be covering the basic pay for our summer camp program. We actually did reduce staff going into this year. We have reduced by 2 camp coordinators. So those 2 are the highest paying for camp summer staff at $20 or more an hour. We actually will no longer have those positions. Our assistant director will be taking over on a daily basis the operations. So we've cut costs there. We're also down inclusion aid, a counselor, as well as a specialist, which were also, a couple of those were also a little bit higher paying, but we just don't have the need because we did condense down to K through 7th instead of having K through 5 and teen camp. So we were able to condense, drop staffing a little bit. So really the increase you're seeing is minimum wage. And then also we did not get the $25,000 gift donation that we've been receiving the last 2 years. And we do not have a grant in place that helped with some of the scholarship money in the past. So that's where summer camp stands there. Most of the other line items are very similar. Where there's differences, it's because we've been shifting where certain line items fall. So Kelly and I have been working closely to establish a new form of budget. So it's more of a cash flow, so that we'll have revenue lines and expenditure lines, which will make it much more transparent and clear where the money's coming in and that it's going out for those particular activities. So some of our things have changed from the last year because I took them out of one section that the previous director had and felt it was better fit in a expense line or in a contract line. So that's where you're seeing some of the decreases and some of the increases that are shifting throughout the budget. Another one that points that out would be the senior vehicle expense is zeroed out for this year because it's been added to the total senior expenses. So the senior expense line will hold the part-time positions that we have for the transportation driver, the service and activity coordinators, the fitness instructors, the podiatry, their basic supplies and vehicle expenses. So that's why there is a jump in the senior expense line. We've decreased our regular recreation supply and expense slide dramatically. Again, looking at the budget I shared with you tonight, we are really looking at moving those supplies and expenses into whatever the programming is that we're doing, whether it's seasonal, by program, so that we're hoping to basically zero out. So what we're taking in to run the program is what's getting put out for the program. So that's where a lot of those changes have come into place. Do you have any questions about any of the numbers on the budget?
You mentioned that you've lost some grants. Could you kind of give us some more detail on some?
It's not so much we've lost them. My understanding, this was prior to me, so one of the other ladies might be able to help Shannon or Kelly.
It was ARPA funding.
Okay.
But did those grants?
Yeah.
So that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, so it's not so much we lost it, it's just not available anymore. We are currently looking for other opportunities for grants. I'm on various groups for recreation as well as seniors to look for those options for other grants. The one we're currently working on retaining is the Senior Resource Grant, which pays for the podiatry, the transportation, and the fitness with a match. And then we're always reaching out to a lot of the local banks to help fund. We've had success with a couple of the banks supporting some senior programming that we're able to run at like $2 a class kind of thing, just as an accountability or for free. The problem with running things for free sometimes is that people will sign up and then not show up. So it's kind of been a little bit of a balance to try and find what works. We're also finding new partnerships to see what we can do to tighten up those relationships. One that we're currently doing is with Plainfield High School. We've teamed up with their wood shop and their AutoCAD, and they will be working with Recreation on recreating some of our garden boxes and creating a community garden space at the Recreation Center that will be for community use, as well as helping to combat some of the food issues in the area. So that is a project we just started in the last couple weeks, and we're very excited about. The kids are super excited to be part of this, so I'm looking forward to that. But really looking at those partnerships and see, like, can we provide part of the cost? Is there a partner who can provide the other half? So we're kind of trying to work together and not everybody taking that burden on. Trying to look for other programs that I can bring in that are zero cost to low cost, as much as possible. We typically are having a couple to 4 extra activities a month for the senior center that we weren't able to have before or had fallen off for whatever reason. So we are working to find those alternative sources for income.
Do you get any income from the podiatrist?
So we have a grant that helps pay for the podiatrist, and then also for those programs as part of the grant, we do ask, or I should say encourage donations, and that's to help offset the cost for the match.
One of the things that we had mentioned at a previous meeting with your predecessor is perhaps that on our monthly meetings, our monthly regular meetings, maybe you could give us an overview of what has been transpiring within your department, revenues and expenses and stuff like that, because there was some concern that we weren't getting a full picture, but what you presented us tonight is much more in-depth than anything we've ever seen before from your department, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. absolutely welcome. I am trying to be really transparent, just that's who I am. I don't have anything to hide. I don't want anyone feeling like I'm hiding anything, so whenever there's questions, I've been trying to be very honest with anyone, just so that it's, I mean, I'm the truth. Like, I don't want to sugarcoat, I don't want to have questions raised because things are blurry. I like order in that sense. So, you know, I'm hoping that that will be helpful for you, and I certainly can do that if that's something that you would like.
You also mentioned that you're continuing to investigate partnerships within the town. You mentioned banks and high school. Have you talked to many local businesses as well?
I'm starting to. So I started reaching out a lot last summer to start creating some partnerships. Soon after leaving, there wasn't a lot of funding for that. So between Shannon and myself, we were able to raise at least a chunk of those funds. But I'm a firm believer that, you know, boots on the ground, like getting out there, meeting people, getting to know people, that goes a long way with forming those relationships. So I'm looking forward to doing that again. I'm actually going to be heading out in the next couple weeks to really just start, you know, meeting people that I haven't met, and going to some of the businesses that have been gracious enough to help us in the past. I'm a big believer that we're not a success without the partnerships of the community. So that's something I fully intend to invest in this year.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I know. About the podiatry that comes to the senior center. He has a box on the table. So
Correct.
that money goes back to the senior center, right? To offset this?
Shannon, Kelly? Yes, okay, that's what I thought, but I want to make sure it was right. So yes, that box I don't touch either, so we take that box directly back to finance. So we don't even touch that box whatsoever. They open it at finance and they do all the association.
So my other question is, it's saying, well, 30 to 35 people there's enough, but okay. I don't think there's that many people utilizing the program, but I can appreciate the fact that it's a, you know, a line budget.
For podiatry?
Yeah.
In particular, so I can say that we have appointments starting at 8:45 in the morning, and they go straight through till 1 o'clock, oftentimes doubled, and they're every 10 minutes.
Okay.
For the past 6 months, we've had on average 33 to 35 appointments each month, because we have to do monthly reporting for the grant. So
That was my next question. Does he come every month? I thought he came every 2 months.
No, he typically comes once a month, so it's typically the first Wednesday of the month. There's been a couple months where it's had to shift because he had a conflict come up, so he's rescheduled within the month.
But he does come every month?
Yes.
Okay, that was my question.
Any other questions? Thank you. All right, highway department's not here.
I will see what I can do to answer any questions for the highway department, but we have a request to add an additional person for highway. That's why you'll see the supervisor has 3% and the salaries to increase to 14, and that's because we're adding another person in. We are adding a little bit more into overtime. It does require it now because we have had some issues, not just the snow, but also other issues around the town. Supervisor overtime stays the same, mechanical tools go up, that was contractual. Refuse disposal stays the same. Contracted services went down a little bit. I'm not sure exactly why we went that far down, but we did. And uniforms, we have a change in uniforms because of the contract, so we are paying out that much money there.
Was the contracts, was the uniforms in the contracts before?
It was a cleaning service instead of actually them buying them.
Or would it have been buried in that?
Yes.
The
Yes.
contract services?
Yeah.
So that's why we got
And that's why you see a
$10,000.
decrease, yes.
Utilities have been doing well, so we dropped it down just a little bit. Sand and gravel, they said they would be able to stay at that line for 40,000. Bituminous, a little more because we have a lot more road damage than we had from previous years, so cost has also gone up. Motor fuels, right now it stayed steady. You just got a contract for that, so that was helpful. Vehicle expenses, just a small adjustment because of the cost of parts and of upkeep. Supplies expenses stay the same, so there is an additional increase overall.
What is creating the need for another full-time position?
Just the work that we do around the town. I mean, absolutely, they're doing a great job of maintaining and keeping up with things, but we definitely need more people out there. I mean, if you take a look right now, you've got people looking for streets to be swept up. There's even people calling up and saying, hey, you got my leaves from last fall, can you come pick that up? We do pickups on the side of the road for things that people dump, to take care of that, and we're doing as much as we can all at one time, so I think another person would be very helpful.
Do you have a separate mechanic for the highway department? You see, the police department has a mechanic listed as one of the 10 mechanics for the highway, or do we not have a dedicated person for that?
Okay, so what you have actually is there's 2 mechanics. One serves full-time over at the police station. He is a member of the highway department.
According to this sheet I'm looking at, it says mechanic for police department, 1 full-time. I don't see another mechanic listed.
It's listed within the actual total number of...
So it's part of the 10 people?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding the highway department? Okay. You may continue, wish.
Next.
Yeah.
Okay, for selectmen. You'll notice that their selectmen have an increase for 3%. I want to bring this up because it was mentioned before for other departments. These are non-union employees. The first year I was in office, I left that at 0, thinking that we'd be talking about that. Instead, it was not approved, and so we didn't get raises that year. So I want to make sure that that's in there, just so we have accountability for it. The other one is the increase in salary for the admin, and everything else will stay the same.
Your admin's getting 6%, is that contractual?
We have a contract with her, and I actually asked her to do more work around your office area.
Have you gone over the budget with each and every one of these department heads?
Yes, sir.
And approved them?
Yes, sir. While you're on that subject, I want to make sure that I understand that I appreciate all of the union and all of the non-union people who are here. They support the town very well. They do a great job. I think what you've heard is them in a position where they're trying to present their budget to you. And nervous as everybody else when they come to the microphone, but very much appreciated the fact of what they do for the town of Plainfield. I can keep going?
Yep.
Yeah, come on up.
Do you want me to do insurance?
We can do this together. So you have a list of 4 items on that next section?
Yes.
All right.
All right, so the next one would be insurance and benefits. Workers' comp insurance, you can see it is going up based on, there's been many more claims, so that draws the cost of it up. General insurance, what that is comprised of is general liability insurance, which is your motor vehicles and your properties. It also includes flood zone insurance, because the town hall is in a flood zone, so we pay about $12,000 a year for that. And also, we handle large amounts of money at the town, so there's such thing as bonding that we have to do on employees too, so that's an expenditure that comes out there. And we have a consultant for our general liability and workers' comp claims. That represents a cost too, that's about $12,000 a year. Medical insurance, we're self-insured with Egypt, which is with about 6 other entities. Self-insured, there's a cost associated for each employee here, plus the risk if you're running high claims. Our stop loss is $175,000. So anything above $175,000 is covered with stop loss. But anything to $175,000 the town covers. So you just have to make sure you're substantially funded there. So you look at the risk and you budget accordingly. Life insurance and disability, that's a contract for all employees of the town. Social Security tax is 0.0765 of all salary figures. Pension,
Is that
town,
why there's such a big jump in there?
yeah. Yeah. And it represents like overtime, it represents all different, sick payout, pension, if you have sick time on the books, vacation time on the books, all of that gets a tax. So that's the town portion that you have to pay. Pension represents the town portion, which when I was talking about the actuarial report, that's where those numbers get created. They get created from there every 2 years. Unemployment benefits, that speaks for itself. Sick and vacation accruals based on union contracts, and retirement payouts. I try to predict, like right now we have about 2 employees that could retire next year. So based on what they have on the books for sick or vacation time, you try to put some money aside to absorb that.
General town? Yeah, I can speak on some of those. So for general town is the next one up. We are going to see if we can save some money with the IT daytime support. So that's why that number has dropped down. We did speak with the Board of Education and tried to work with them to see if we can get someone to come in, looking at our systems both here and in the police station and around different departments in the town. Unfortunately, it's something they couldn't do for us. So we've now tried a different avenue. Telephone, unfortunately, we have a telephone system which I'm not real proud of or happy with, but we have to deal with it. So it's going to cost us a little bit more money this year coming up, so that's why the increase there. I have listed here the ECC building maintenance and operation. I did a calculation, which I believe I gave you. If not, I can get you a copy of it. We have to make sure we have somebody stationed part-time at the ECC building, as we mentioned earlier, to make sure that that doesn't fall in disrepair. We have to also utilize that person for building and grounds and help us out. We've got to make sure that that person's there, and there's also contractual issues along with that, like your elevator contract, your HVAC contract, upkeep and maintenance of that building. So what we put together was a number of $135,000 just for that building. So that's why this number is listed here. We have legal fees. We think we can go down a little bit with that. We hope so. Postage is about the same. Computer will be about the same. Probate's about the same. Same thing with coffee machines. Town needed roads, what we did from states. So that's going to be the same. Claims, we're hoping it stays at 1,000. We made a modification to contingency. We obviously ran short this year. We don't want to have that happen again. Tax refunds and fireworks and US, oh, by the way, fireworks. Let me mention that really quick. So I was on the phone with a gentleman from the fireworks company from last year, who cost us maybe $12,500. He said, well, for the same show for this year, it's going to be $16,500 because of the tariffs, because they get some of the material in from China. So if we were to do that, that's what we'd do. Or he can shorten the show and make it to $12,000. U.S. flags, we try to order all the time for our grave sites. We're not, some of these things are older, like the outdoor restroom sound system, things like that, but we did go up about 8% total over the previous year. What's next? Purchase services. I think these are pretty much self-explanatory. Connecticut Conference Municipalities.
The only one that has a big increase would be the American Legion ambulance, another 20,000.
Yeah, we asked them to come up with their budget, and they asked us to come up with a little bit more money off that. So the ambulance is, was it 80?
80,000.
Yep.
Yep, to 100,000.
To 100. All the rest of them are small increases. Department of Health, they've had some modifications because they've lost staff as well, but they're increasing the rates. Council of Governments, pretty much the same. The bulky waste is something we can talk about another time, but right now they're increasing the cost to us to be $265,848. Transportation, which has worked out very well for the town of Plainfield with the transportation from NECOG buses, up just a little bit. We do contribute to United Services and the 911 dispatch, some modifications, but it's the good. Meals on Wheels, we've been talking to Meals on Wheels about how we can modify this to still be able to service the residents, because it comes at a cost, obviously. So we've been working with them for modification, and we might see something in the future on that. And again, American Ambulance up 20,000, so.
On Wheels, is that going to increase?
No, it's going to stay the same.
It's going to stay the same even with the cuts coming out of Washington? Wasn't that?
At this time, that's what we're holding on to. We do have a backup plan, because we've been looking at other companies that might be able to do the same types of services at roughly the same price. So we have a backup plan in place. The next one's up, I guess, are capital expenses. The changes there, obviously the town hall phone system, modifications of the numbers there, and that's pretty much it. Everything else should stay the same. And town contributions are the same.
And then the debt interest decreases 36,000 for the whole year, and then the debt principal decreased 811,000.
So I think we have one more year, about 300,000, and that should cover all of what we have for our bonding.
Correct.
It's a good position to be in and a bad position to be in, because you know what's next. People will be asking, what can we bond? Any questions?
Any other questions? Sorry? Oh, yeah. On the fund balance.
You talking about the 5-year capital fund balance portion?
Oh, no, the fund balance proposed budget for this year. So it's up significantly.
So there's a lot of modifications throughout this. You heard earlier about the flooring plan for the downstairs and planning. There's a lot of little things here. Revals back on what we were doing before. So we added that back in because we have a new contract with NECOG for that. So we anticipated about $36,546. Used buildings and grounds truck. If we have another staff member, we'd like to have a used truck for that. That way he can support different, if they're doing different mowings here and there, he can help out. There is a request for a highway truck. His is in need, probably within another year to do that, to replace it. I wanted to do some auditorium curtains, as you can see. Please don't touch them because they'll fall apart as soon as you touch them. They're pretty old. The request is for a highway wood chipper. The one they have right now is just about done, so they really do need one. Pool locker upgrades downstairs. There was a couple of issues we had downstairs with the swinging doors that someone must have leaned on them, and a couple of them are coming out. So I'd like to be able to replace those and do other upgrades there as well. You have a request in for the police to SUVs, evidence for electric, the evidence building for electric upgrade. I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about the transfer station. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. We have a 5-year contract with Casella. This will be the last year of the contract. The problem that I see it there is kind of simple. We get to use it for 5 hours on Saturday. You go from 7 to 12, and those bins that you use are all used by other people all week long. And then they bring them out, and they weigh them, and we get charged.
So that's what was written in the contract. I'd like to be able to get out of that. I'd like to do what other towns do. You go back to the transfer station we used to have at the highway department, put it on a scale, and get only the people that utilize it would pay by the pound. That means one thing, I can take that $260,000 out of the budget and save the taxpayers money there. So that was the plan I'm looking to do. I would have to put an application in with the state of Connecticut and also purchase a scale, have it calibrated, and we have a system we'll be working out to try to maybe so this pay as you go. Oh, let's see, household hazard waste day. We haven't had one in a while. I can put that back in place. So it's going to cost about $15,000 to do that. Police data terminals for vehicles. I think the chief talked about that at the meeting you had in front of the chief. Windows 10 is no longer serviceable on the laptops. It comes up in October. So there is, we'll look to see if we can replace those and also replace them with Windows 11. So that's why the $90,000 is there. We have Moosup Memorial Park curb cut. That is a $17,000 bid we had a while ago. We just haven't gotten around to it. It's been 3 years in the waiting. I'd like to be able to do that for the curb that's over by the Memorial Park in Moosup. That way you can drive the vehicle up there and do maintenance on the park area at all times, but you don't have to be sitting on the side of the road. And also, it could be used obviously for Memorial Day, for the VJ parade. That's what's listed right now.
You have some kind of an update on the handicap ramp
Yes, you went out front?
up front?
Yep.
And the patio, whatever?
Yes. It's something that's done this year, so that's why it's not included in the budget, but I can explain to it real quick. We anticipate that June 3rd, that project will start. So we already have a winning bidder. We're going to start on that project. We are planning to be able to take out the 2 patios on both sides of the staircase area. So the entire area will be redone in the front, but those will no longer be serviceable up there. They'll just be grass leading down to, sloping down the hill away from the town hall. It starts June 3rd. It takes 90 days, and it will all be back in place. In the meantime, we will make sure that we try to service as best we can. For those who remember, when we had COVID, we were servicing as many people as possible by way of you call ahead for service if you were handicapped and couldn't get inside the building. If you could, you can also walk up the staircase, but we'll take care of you on the outside. Everybody in the top floor area will be serviced. We have a couple of those sandwich boards with the phone numbers on them, so they can call, if they drive up, they can call the direct number to the offices up top, and we'll do our best to service you by going downstairs and taking care of you. So that will start June 3rd, Tuesday, and it'll be for a 90-day period, and as soon as we get to it, we'll try to inform the public by putting it out with a public notification online, Facebook, Turnpike Buyer, get as much information out there as possible to people. Just to know that it's unfortunate, this can be 90 days, but that's how it's going to be for right now. We'll try to do the best we can to serve some people.
And what'd you say that cost?
Well, that comes out of, we have a couple of the LOSIP funds,
State of Connecticut fund.
local capital improvement.
Yeah.
The annex pavilion survey, we're still messing with that? I thought we had that already on the works.
We received a grant for it, but part of the grant, you have to have a survey of it, and that's not covered in the grant.
Yeah, they don't do any designing or engineering included in that steep grant.
Have we done any of that yet already?
No.
We do any engineering right on that?
Well, our town engineer has been working on a plan to get it
Yep, so
out to the
we're going to
bid.
get Sean for all the site planning, but we will need an architect to do the structure.
Any other questions? If not, I will entertain a motion that we accept the budgets as presented in tonight's meeting.
Not what we did, something.
All right, we have a motion to accept the presentation of the budgets made by John. Do I have a second? I have a second by Ted. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Now I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn. All right. Motion made by Mrs. Stern. Do I have a second?
Yes, that's
Stephanie will second. All in favor? Aye.
I'm like, wait, what's the guy? That's okay, you can tell me there, you can talk together.